Hi, so today I wanted to talk about what is commonly referred to as the treatment for FAP. And again, I'm not a huge fan of using the word treatment in reference to FAP just because there is no cure for FAP, so doing this isn't going to really treat your FAP, it's just going to stave off some of the more immediate and fatal aspects of the disease, which is colon cancer, because it involves removing one's colon. And there are three main surgical routes that doctors consider when going about trying to remove someone with FAP's colon. And I just wanted to briefly talk about them here. But before I did, I just wanted to put in a disclaimer. I am not a medical doctor. You know, what I'm saying here is really just based on the research that I did prior to my own surgery, as well as my own experience after having surgery, and what I've sort of learned along the way. So please do not substitute what I'm saying here for whatever your doctor is telling you. I mean, what I'm saying here is not, I do not have an MD. So yeah. But anyway, moving on. So the first surgical route is a colectomy with ileorectal anastomosis, abbreviated IRA. And so that involves removing just the colon, and what they do is, I think they connect your small intestine directly to your rectum, and this wasn't an option for me, so I'm not really as familiar with the recovery time or anything like that, but depending on how aggressive your FAP is, it might be an option for you. So, and then the last two surgical routes fall under the header of proctocolectomy, which is the removal of both the colon as well as the rectum, and I think this is probably one of the preferred routes for people with FAP, just because the polyps that I mentioned in an earlier video can grow in the rectum as well, and so cancer can develop in the rectum as well, so there are definitely advantages to removing the rectum. And so the first surgery that falls under this proctolectomy header is called a proctolectomy with ileal pouch anal anastomosis, which is abbreviated IPAA. And so basically what they do here is they remove all of your large intestine, and then they remove pretty much all of your rectum, but they leave a tiny little bit that is referred to as the rectal stump, which I don't know why that word just, does not sit well with me, and I'm into anatomy and all that, but I don't know, it's just not the most appealing thing, but that's what it's called, rectal stump. And in addition to that, they also leave the sphincter muscle, which is the muscle that you use to consciously hold in your waste as well as expel it. So, what they basically do is they take your some of your small intestine and they make what's called a J pouch, and that sort of becomes your pseudo colon. However, they don't reconnect you all at first, generally. So what they do is they thread out a little bit of your small intestine through your abdominal wall, and they create what's called a stoma. So you have a little bit of your small intestine sticking out of your abdomen, and you end up with what's called an ileostomy, which is basically a bag that you attach to your abdomen, and it surrounds that little piece of small intestine, and it collects your feces. Yeah, and the reason that they do this is because they want your J pouch to try and have some time to heal a little bit before it starts having to, do its job. And my surgeon decided that 3 months was the period that he wanted the J pouch to heal, and from my understanding, I think 3 months is a pretty common time frame for letting the J pouch heal. So after having the first surgery, I lived with an ileostomy for 3 months, and then I came in for what's called step 2, which is the reversal surgery, where they reverse the temporary ileostomy and they reconnect all of you up. So you now can excrete all of your waste through your bottom. And yeah, that's that process. And so my surgery was done in 2 steps. I am aware that it can also be done in 1 step where they just do it all in one surgery, but my surgeon advised against that just because he said the risk of infection was a bit greater. And then I think it can also be done in 3 steps as well, where you have a loop ileostomy at some point, but again, that's not the route that I went, so I'm not as familiar with that particular way. And yeah, so, but I think I would say probably the most common is to have the 2-step procedure. Yeah, and then the remaining other type of proctolectomy that is done is just a total proctolectomy that results in a permanent ileostomy. That just, they remove all of the colon as well as all of the rectum, and I believe they probably remove the sphincter muscle too, and you end up with that permanent ileostomy. Yeah, but again, that's not, I did not have that type of surgery, so I'm not quite as familiar with exactly, if there are any differences that go on. But yeah, if you have had, if you had just the colectomy, or if you had a 1-step or a 3-step surgery and you'd like to share about it, or, make a video or send me some information that you'd like me to share, or correct anything that I said here that was wrong, please do comment below or message me. I'd be happy to, share more information about the different types of routes that are available surgically. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention that with the total proctolectomy that results in a permanent ileostomy, there's also this thing called, I don't know if it's called BICR or if it's just BCIR, and I tried to do some research on it, but I haven't really found that much on it, but I know that it is an option sometimes for people with F.A.P. who can't have the J pouch formed. And so what it is it's a permanent internal ileostomy, I think. So what they do is they still take some of your small intestine and they form a pouch internally, but they don't connect you up to a rectal stump or anything. They remove all the rectum and everything, and so you have this internal pouch and you have a stoma still, but waste isn't freely going out of it. And what you do is I think you take a catheter and you thread it through, and that's how you get the feces out, is through a catheter. Again, there hasn't been that much information available, so if you have that, please, it would be great if you could write in and share, just, educate everyone about that. So yeah, those are the 3 main surgical routes that I'm aware of as far as what people with F.A.P. face when trying to prevent themselves from getting colon cancer. And I definitely will, have more videos in the future that cover some things that I briefly touched upon here. I'll definitely try and do a video talking about the ileostomy, as well as 1, if not more, videos about what it's like living with the J pouch. And yeah, and if you have any ideas or video suggestions or tips or anything you'd like me to cover, please, please, please feel free to comment below or send me a message, and that would be great. Alright, have a good day.